Hello, mate.
Hey, Brooke.
How are you?
Dude, we are doing great, man.
You are laughing with far too much malicious intent. I am suspicious of you intensely.
Nothing to be suspicious about at all, man. Hey, you are live right now on the Zach Moonshine Show with Metal Devastation Radio. We just got done blasting a couple of your tracks. We played Best Friend, and then we played Shadowland, and I gotta tell you, man, these tracks are just so fucking badass, dude.
Oh, I am grateful for the warmth and support, man. It's a lot of love went into them, and so it's nice to know they can be loved by others too.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. I can tell everybody that's listening right now, all the people in the chat room, everybody's really enjoying it, man. Good stuff, man.
Thanks, Zach.
So tell us seriously, man. Like what's going on in the world of Brooke Burgess? Like, what are you doing?
I am. You're catching me at 4 a.m. in the Netherlands. That's where I'm based. And let's see, like, what in the world of Brooke Burgess, the origin story of the album was I was living in Southeast Asia with my young son and his German mom at a hotel there on a tiny island in Thailand. And then the pandemic hit, and work dried up, and the world worries seeped in. And I'm like, I want to do something to not only distract myself, but really like to lift the spirits of my young son, who's like, what's going on, Daddy, basically. And I had made a lot of stuff in other mediums. I had worked at in video games. I had written for Electronic Arts. I had worked for Warner Brothers and Universal. I was consulting for all these different entertainment companies over the years, but one of my bucket list things to do was to do an album, and I just didn't have the spark, the reason to do it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, well, I have all these musician friends who can't tour. We have the amazing technology of the internet to allow us to reach each other. I actually had, believe it or not, access to pretty decent production facilities just a boat ride away, and I'm like, it's now or never. And I had the inspiration because I had all that love for my boy, and the songs were just coming to me. And, a year and a bit later, exactly a year ago, July 7th, 2 days ago, released the album to the world. And it's been, listened to, and the videos have been watched because it's a 20 video project as well. It's been enjoyed by thousands upon thousands of people around the world the last year, and the response has been amazing. And I am utterly blessed, and my boy is pretty tickled for as much as he can fathom at 5 years old. He's like, "So you made that, Daddy? You're singing that, Daddy?" I'm like, yes. And then I get him involved in the shoots, and now he's a little pro rock star. So it's been a blast, and a real learning experience, and just a reminder of the power of music, the way it can reach out to people. Man,
I can't believe it was a year ago that was released. Fuck.
Yep.
Where did time go, man?
It was a blur. Best Friend came out July 7th, 2021, and then every 2.5 to 3 weeks I was releasing a new video, and that was the thing, right? I really wanted to have this as a music and video project, kind of telling this big narrative, and to have it all tie together, but all my feelings for him, but also more importantly just this whole idea of being a dad. It was to do it late in life. Most of my friends had kids in their 30s or their 20s, or maybe in their early 40s. And here I was, having a son at 47. Stupid. But
I thought I waited a long time, man. You got me on that one.
Dude, I resisted and resisted and resisted the call, but I can honestly say, without any hint of all truth in my heart and in my voice, it was worth every bit of pain, every bit of growing pain, every bit of transformation. That kid just absolutely changed my life, and that's why this was so easy to do, even when it was hard.
Speaking of becoming a parent at an older age, I can tell you, man, honestly, I think that it was actually worth waiting the while, because so many of my friends growing up that did it early on, man, I saw them struggle, and I'm not gonna say that that they didn't do what they could do or didn't do anything right or anything, but it's just I saw the struggle, and I was always like, man, I'm just not ready yet, and so exactly. I totally feel you, man.
Well, I think that with it comes not only the maturity, I'm older now and I've lived more, but really your ego starts to dissolve as you get older. You realize you're not always going to get your way. You realize that you get a lot of joy, or at least most people mature, you realize you get more joy from serving others. And there's not much more intense service than serving your child, right?
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
They're number one, man. They're number one.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I'd do anything for them.
Well, yeah, listening to this record, it's definitely evident. I mean, that's just it's a beautiful fucking thing, man. It's amazing, and I'm so glad that we finally got you on here. I know we've been talking about doing this interview for, I don't know, man. It feels like forever.
Well, yeah, about at least, actually, yeah, more than 6 months. Gosh, yeah, it's since Shadowland was first featured, and that was like, I think October. Yeah, that was Halloween last year. So that's when we said maybe we should, and now it's finally happening. And you're a cool ass dude, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude. You're pretty cool yourself, man.
Look at this mutual appreciation society. What other type of stuff do your listeners like to hear about? Is it all kumbaya on the metal show? Come on, man.
Hell yeah, man. You know what? Let me ask you, dude, like some of your influences, man. You got to tell us, like, what kind of stuff do you listen to that helped you produce such an eclectic album like this? Because every song is different, man. That's what's so cool about it.
Well, it's cool, but I know, a lot of kind of like traditional publishing types, kind of like you can't do like a multi-genre album, especially a double multi-genre album. And I'm like, well, but it's less about the genre and more about the story being told. Each song has a feeling and threads into the next. But yeah, I'm an eclectic guy with a soup bowl full of tastes. And here's the weird thing: I grew up in the '80s, and most music sucked, or at least at that time in North America, the North American music sucked. But there was some really cool stuff happening over in Britain, right? And yeah, so like there's a little bit of a new wave thing. There was like Talk, and I guess like a little bit Duran Duran and whatever that stuff was happening. But I was definitely influenced in my small town in Canada by old school rock. So of course it was like Zeppelin and Floyd, and then my parents were listening to the Beatles, and that was all great. But I feel like my taste didn't start to mature until it came about time. And I know this might sound cliche, but when grunge hit, and all of a sudden you have this like small window where it's Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Mudhoney and all these things. I'm like, whoa, this speaks to my unexplainable rage of my late teens, early 20s. This really works for me. And then Radiohead came along, and I started to explore kind of different feelings, and like how can a narrative unfold within music? Because you listen to OK Computer, which is still an amazing album, and it feels almost multi-genre on its own. It feels like a concept album. And then I got older, and then it became weirder, and then it's like I love like Godspeed You Black Emperor and these things that like really were more challenging. And then you travel. And as you travel, you get influenced by world music, but also you realize that everywhere you go, there are certain types of music that appeal to everybody. And I started to get into hip hop, which is strange, but it's like you're going to Central America or Southeast Asia or North Africa, and you're like, wow, there are a lot of people listening to hip hop, and not just in their own language and regional ways, but also like, very much they're listening to English hip hop. And I'm going, what is it about this? And I started to listen to like, a bit more old school, like earlier than Wu-Tang, but like definitely like Wu-Tang appealed to me a lot. De La Soul appealed to me. Old school Beastie Boys appealed to me. There was a cleverness there, and a kind of a spirit that smashed into me and made me like find my own rhythm of how I spoke and how I wrote things. And as a writer, especially when I'm writing dialogue or dialogue for voiceover, it's about finding the rhythm of a character, and that's something I learned to really appreciate about hip hop too, which is why the album is about a third hip hop. Yeah, a lot of influences, and I'm still garnering them. I'm still gathering them. It's a life journey, and music's the best reflection of that.
That is really cool. You mentioned the 90s and grunge and stuff like that, and that automatically popped up a bunch of stuff in my head. When you said that, I was thinking back on that time and that era, and yeah, I totally see it now. Like with this music is definitely definitely harkens back to a lot of stuff like that, like Beck and
Yes.
different artists like that during that time that were trying different things, and yeah. What the hell happened? You know, like it used to seem like people were open, you know, like as far as journalists. You mentioned those guys, you know, and I know how they are so picky about specific things. You know, it's gotta fit in this. They gotta shove it in one little section.
This is what it is. I understand it, and now I may judge it, and it relates to this, and it was born of this, and this is how the structure works. And now it's all like, you know, it's really, really hard in the world of, you know, creating. Now they just call it content. It's not about making music anymore, or, you know, trying to make a movie or a show. It's about, okay, I'm producing content now. Let's make this content, and what segment does this content appeal to, and what's the next piece of content? And it's like, Jesus Christ, like, you know, I don't know exactly how old you are, but you sound mature. At least you're an old soul at the very least. And
44.
you know, okay, so there you go. So when you grew up, like, a really cool new release of music mattered. It could really affect you deeply. And I think that now we're in this age where, sure, it's amazing that all the tools are there. Like, I couldn't have made this album without all the tools being readily available to make music and to distribute music. But at the same time, with so much, quote, content being made, you're getting flooded by noise and you're missing out on signal. Like, it's really, really hard to feel that special connection to something new that comes out. It's rare, and when it does, I treasure it still, because it's kind of like, you know, not only do you know how the sausage is made and like the mystery is gone, but there's just so much. It's hard to connect with something that feels like it matters.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Yeah, I know. I you know, it's weird. Like back during those times, it seemed like, speaking of the '90s, like it seemed like a lot of different things like this were more celebrated. But then again, at the same time, I kind of feel like right now we're sort of moving into a resurgence of a lot of that, where there is still there's definitely a need for this kind of thing out there. You know, there's definitely an audience that is interested in all kinds of different things like this. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the one upside of it. I didn't want to be like, yeah, I'm the complaining old guy on my porch and get off my lawn, and this is how you're supposed to listen to music, kids these days. No, it's not that at all. But I think it is a reflection of culture, and how fast we're moving and what technology does to us, and yet at the same time, one of the great things and grand things and beautiful things about the modern age is the true access to like the global village, right? It's like everything is connected, and I released this album and did a little bit of promo in the beginning, and I'm seeing these segments bubble up that are intrigued by it or reaching out or you know, reposting in places. And I'm going, what? There's a really nice pocket of people in Russia who like this? What? Filipinos are really getting off on this song? What? And that might not have happened in the past. It's been really interesting to watch as, you know, a new video comes out, or as it gets shared or bubbles up again in the collective consciousness, which parts of the world are resonating with what, and at what time. That's kind of cool. Yeah, definitely.
And you speaking about technology and the internet and everybody, different things connected, but like the way that you were able to do this with different artists and the production also is amazing on this. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, well, I am very, very blessed. My number one main man and a producer on a lot of the tracks on the non-hip-hop stuff is my cousin Tobias Tinker, who's been based in Berlin for the last 25 years. He was brought out there way back when to be kind of a music director for a offshoot of Cirque du Soleil, of all things. But he's like an old school classical and jazz pianist who also used to have like a rock band when he was younger, kind of a more of a proggy thing. And we had worked on a couple of projects from a soundtrack perspective, because again, I used to not only produce games, but I also I had some pretty big animation projects back in the day. Kind of one that's considered the granddaddy of animated comics. It was called Broken Saints, this 10-hour kind of sci-fi techno spiritual epic that Fox picked up back in 2004. and then made it into a global DVD set for release in 2006 to 2010, and it was kind of a thing back then. And Tobias did the soundtrack for most of the 10 hours of the series, and we've just kept working together since on stuff for movie studios, on indie projects, on game stuff. And I'm like, one of these days, can we, like, I really want to make an album. And the genesis of this whole project was me, falling in love with my son, even with the challenges with Thailand and with his mom and everything else. I wanted to do something special for my boy, and I noticed at a very young age during our first trip to Germany that my son was really responding to music. And we're sitting in Tobias's flat, and he's playing piano on his baby grand piano, and my son's just like tapping along to the beat at 9 months, and I'm going, whoa, that's interesting. And my cousin, who's a very, he'll joke he's a music snob, is like, that's quite advanced for that age. And and we end up singing "Hey Jude," and he's clapping along, and then that planted the seeds for the song on the album a little bit, "Hey Ray." And then I'm like, oh, I want to do something for his first birthday, and then for his second birthday, and then I realized, wait a minute, all of these songs are pouring out of me. There's something really in there. There's a nugget there, and I could scratch that itch of this creative bucket list thing I've wanted to do forever, with a real purpose, not just make something that's wank, but like have this project really driven by love. And then our network expanded out because he had people who were itching to work on something because they couldn't perform live because of the pandemic. And so, up steps his buddy Matt Miller, who's an American guy who lives in Sweden, and he's an awesome killer guitarist and indie producer and ex-punk head for some really, really cool bands that toured around the world. And, he helped me crank out DADBOD and Shadowland and Super Boo. And then the hip hop stuff, I always wanted to kind of take my hand at producing that, and I knew some loop makers and had some cool samples, and then I just produced it myself, and it all worked out, and it was all because of technology. And as we're all sitting around going, oh shit, we're indoors and needing to find a sense of purpose, okay, this will do.
Wow, man, that is truly amazing, dude.
Thank you.
Now, as far as your videos too, you just released a new video. Can you tell us about
the Capper?
Can you tell us about that? Like, how'd you go about doing that?
Do you know what? I'm blessed in that it was a year and a quarter ago, actually a little bit longer, when pandemic stuff kind of started to lift a little bit, but more importantly, with tourism kind of like dead in that Southeast Asia region I was living in, my boy's mom was like, I'm going to go back to Germany. I'm like, well, you're not leaving with my boy. And she's like, well, you better find a job nearby then. And I'm like, oh crap, like necessity is the mother of invention. And I reached out because I hadn't been working in-house. I'd had all this freedom to kind of work remotely, but now it was like, okay, I need to find something that suits me that's in-house. And there was a cool game gig offered in the UK, and there was one in Shanghai, so that's too far away, and there were a couple other things that didn't quite feel right. And then I reached out to this company that was advertising interactive storytellers in southern Netherlands, and they were doing like health tech. I'm like, what is this? And I started talking to them, and we had conversations over a couple of months, and then they made an offer for to run their whole kind of narrative division and their user experience. And I was really getting excited about this app they were working on, which is going to be actually coming out now very shortly, and focused on kind of an interactive coaching experience to help people with their mental and emotional wellness. And it's going to start in this region, like Netherlands and Germany and Belgium, and then go global next year. And so I came over here, and I get to be with my son all the time. Like, he lives a half an hour train ride away with his mom, and we split time. And with that came I had produced all these little videos on the island. I had either used production friends who weren't shooting Muay Thai fighting videos anymore, who had done professional stuff for UFC and 1FC and stuff, and they're like, okay, let's make some music videos then. But when I came here at the health tech company I work for, they have this incredible media division in-house, these really talented young guys who were making corporate stuff and wanted to do something cool instead. And over my first 6 months there, I guess I kind of proved myself. My boss is like, is there anything you could do that would be a little bit outside of the box, it would showcase like the cool stuff we do here, potentially attract new talent, but also like tell a bit of a story and celebrate our kind of disruptive punkish spirit. And I'm like, actually, I might have something in mind. And I pitched him on doing a music video for the title track as the last big video of the project, DADBOD. And that's what we just released. It was shot and edited and comped and posted in special effects. And within 3 weeks, the whole team came together. Artists came and drew custom stuff for it, a nod to Calvin and Hobbes and some other like really cool stuff. We did some great 3D scans of my son and I, and did some superhero green screen stuff. And it turned into this little story about a father and son heist where we sneak into this tech company and play around with all their toys and eat their candy treats and flirt with the girls who work there, and then jump into the green screen room and like have all these superhero adventures. And then the security guy comes in and tries to stop our fun, but the power of our awesome father-son love, we snap our fingers and we get superpowers and fly out of the building into the sky, happily ever after sort of deal. And it's a bit of a blast, and it's only been out a few days, and people are really just jumping on top of it. It's been a wonderful surprise so far. I hope it keeps going.
That is amazing, man. Well, I gotta say, you are a busy dude. That's a lot of stuff.
Is that really? Is it that busy? It's funny. I have friends who are like perennially busy. They've got so much stuff on the go. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. And here I am in my early 50s. I hope all the listeners don't go, this guy can't be cool. He's in his early 50s. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. I'm young at heart, but I don't feel like I'm that busy. I feel like I'm a dad, and sure, I've got this pretty cool production job, but at the same time, it's like, if you're the type with a tendency towards creativity, you have the creative spark, you need to express yourself in that way about something that matters, it'll happen. It has to come out. Nothing will get in the way of it. And it's less about being busy and more about it's an imperative. I had to make this for him. It was no less than a calling. Yeah.
Well, you did it, man. You definitely did it. You had a
Thanks, Wade. I really hope your listeners appreciate it.
I think that, so far they're digging the hell out of it, man.
Thanks.
For everybody out there listening that's interested, where can they go to find out more information about you?
You can definitely go to about this project specifically. You can go to DADBOD, the album. That's like one word, and the background of the project, all the videos, lots of behind the scenes pics and stuff. Of course, the project's on Bandcamp, on Spotify, on all the cool places where you listen to Apple Music, all the cool places you listen to music. If you want to see all the videos and also see a bit more about me and some kind of like background and some travel stuff, there were a couple of pilots I did for Travel Channel. All of that stuff is up on my YouTube channel, so that's youtube.com/Broken Saint, one word, Broken Saint, which is a nod to my old handle for my old series. And otherwise, Broken Saint for Instagram, Broken Saint for Twitter. You can hunt me down and do your due diligence and be like, okay, this guy's all right, he passes the test, and maybe join the little tribe we got going.
Really cool, man. Really cool. All right, well, Brooke, I'm about out of questions for you. Is there anything else you want to let the people know about?
No, I just want to say thanks. I know, as I said before, it's like we're all competing for people's hearts and minds and ears and eyes, and there's a whole lot of noise out there, but this signal has a lot of love in it, and even if it sounds cheesy, and I know it would too, if I was listening to this right now, it's like, oh, some guy made some album for his kid, how's that going to resonate with me? I think if you'll do me a favor and listen to a couple of the tracks, if you listen to like a Best Friend or a DADBOD, which are super fun, or you want to go a little bit darker and go to Shadowland, or some of the cool hip hop like Four and Bumpy, or some of the really heart tweaking stuff. I'll leave you with this. There was when it first came out, there was a really nice series of reviews that popped up on Bandcamp. A chunk of them from Russia and Brazil and a few other places. And there was this one guy who wrote, he's like, I'm hard ass. I love like metal and heavy rock and industrial stuff. But this song, Little Guy, which is this kind of like very soft, very loving, kind of Disney-esque homage to becoming a dad and all the emotion and weird kind of spiritual stuff attached to it. He's like, this song made me cry and moved me deeper than any of the heavy metal I've been listening to for the last decade. And that was one of the nicest comments anyone made, because there is something there, I think, that got its way into the project that's kind of universal, and it's not cliche. Like, this is about love. This is about figuring out that there's a love that can be bigger than yourself, and whether that's heart-based or, you know, spirit or whatever religion, whatever you want to call it. I think that kind of has worked its way into and infused the project. And so if you allow yourself to be open and you do a classic sit down and deep listen, if you kind of go from the beginning to the end and you set aside an hour-ish and give it a listen, you'll see, oh wow, there's a method to this madness, and shit, it can move me. And if this old weirdo can do it, I could do it too.
Hell yeah,
that's
bro.
pretty much it.
Hell yeah. All right, man.
Zach, thank you.
Before I let you go, can I get you to make us a station tag real quick?
Oh, damn straight you can. Skinny you can.
Whenever you're ready, say something like, "This is Brooke, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio."
This is Brooke Burgess, and you're listening to Metal Devastation Radio. Zach Moonshine is the man.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
You know what? My pleasure. And the sun is coming up here in the Netherlands across the pond. You have a great night. Kick some ass, and thanks so much for spreading the good word.
Thank you, man. We'll talk to you later, brother.
Be well, brother.
All right.
Peace.
There you have it, folks.